Devara jebo jeden jemba jevo deve palo jebo lana meta adam menam Tumbo Sanji Jondende, Benye Washa, Tuba, Chate, Chodo Jaso, Tumbo, Jondende, Shin Shemba, Rajomba, Yanda, Gope, Reba, Shazu, Demoran, Devora Shemba, Jiten, Kemba, Kibu, Kalu, Lana, Meba, Lana, Menanje, Tumbo Sanji Jondende, Benye. 下家土包子，下在老家老家做节，我的妈，叫的，地心些包炸酱包，羊大包做白三月，在包当小做年包的，我这些包今天就。结果对外卡路就包，那买包，他当没拿去，就包三节就的，白家我下家土包子，下在老家老家。且我刚才刚你做我觉当的，三千的老公婆，我那几天的忙出去路，得这天我觉了这当的我就都不管我，一起家族身体我。大把几天送那老妹我，我过去你就了这。南州电报里面大北角，三道茶话就拉着子龙的，对对就那西包苏马街，娘们给你就拉着子，公婆多接见的包，他们接见别的包，送那月亮家族接，得心先拉着子。大白的家这玩意儿，给为你做的人。七度等到去九八，西九九拉家子，当年周围拉样的拉巴大拉拉古的，新街大巴有点点，跟着拉呀走。今阳没家些，也我不是错。让给三年永驻的，年年三节天白年。Kamara marmeda yoma seba shurda. Melan lodan tinda bu düze çönan didarda. Sonum di damce zibayi boban tone gönge ratı. Dada nada çive lapşu de sebe zole wadra vara şu.
To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans who were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise ones, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one God to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower rungs, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 4. Page 11. Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha on Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena, called profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, analyzing the five ragas by nature empty. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond? Thus he spoke in the noble level of Yudhishthira. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva replied to the venerable Shariputra, saying, O Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formation, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes, up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these, all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these, all the way up to there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond, and because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times, by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, most complete and perfect enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as the truth, for there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering and the world with its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
not the ring of Sapu. And it changed that change you consider the and you consider the parasol, Chanju and the Chobal Jubas and that Chanju and the Chobal Jubas and that Chobal Jueg, Chuba de Tak, or your study, not the Ranzo Tanda Tacha, Jujula Labu or in that Chobal Jueg, Chobati. And the Kandage or Senata, Chobati. And the USA did that just as Chanju Samba, just as Shivala Prana, and it's Chanju and the Chobal Jubati. Kurang will a key about the Yamlin Chiki Yobati. Any that Kurang Yamlen now, Tita, and Suzu Dolo Yobati, and in Yamu told them out Jerry, and it changed to over response.
We resume our Thursday evening class on the Way of the Bodhisattva, the Bodhicharya Avatar. This is the text, the Bodhicharya Avatar. What is the training of the Bodhisattva? As this is the entrance into the training of the Bodhisattva, what is that training? Where is it and what is it? We're training in it, but what exactly does it entail? It is Shantideva's experience, that which he generated in his own mind. So it is in practice as well as the practices derived from the sutra. So it is these two.
What said that has not to know women that as a Shivalagi. Any that Namda des Shivaros and Namda the cities about Tambo Korangi, Nangla de do, and a Koran gave you Pugure, Gesere. Any do Koran Pamagi Ming the Kartars and the Walas. That's in a Korangi, Onechana Koran Kare, give you Puguche, any 개부다 개부 보고 이도 아니 제마 보란다 개부 체야래 아니 수술하다 너롱주다 아니 직담 녀다 차상 예버레데 이나양 딜라 담 녀다다 아니 요 너롱주로 마차봐 아니 개시 차상 르당제는 거랑 딱한테 라버도 체네 아니 나렌달레 타와체는 도수쇼와라와스 나렌다 페네 나렌다 개부고 그런 명도 제부자네 시월하 오도 명수에버레스 어디서
Last week, I touched on the biography of Shantideva. He was born into the family of a king. He was a prince, and his name was Sukadeva. And really, at that time, as prince, he would have become king later. He had everything conceivable in terms of wealth and fame already. He had this, of course, as a prince, but he wasn't occupied. He wasn't interested in fame and clothing and wealth and the rest. And he sacrificed all of this, abandoned all of this, and took up studies of the Buddha Dharma at Nalanda University, where the abbot there gave him the new name Shantideva.
아니 담가져버려서 그런 거 땅에 가르치기 베스트 뻔하게 예부신의 대기 있는 아니 수송원의 땀 요래 명요래 롱주 요래 아니 밤안인데 자산가가 요래 다져서 저주서 몇 줘봐들 주바 있는 아니 되게를 마땅하는 용기여 말세다 그런 게 담가체네 아니 가르 담에서는 자세 저주서 몇 줘봐들 라베데 담 아니 세디게 기지 또그 담숨 아니 녀다 자산을 땅와레스 세상 보랑이다 자주선에 쩌벌 라베데 담네 아니 고발쇼 타와지 아니 자세선에 쩌벌 라베레스
Then what did he do? He took up his studies at Nalanda University. And what was the choice he made? He previously had everything conceivable in terms of wealth and fame, friends and family as a prince. But he faced the choice between fame, friends and family, every conceivable wealth, and the practice of the Bodhisattva. He had this choice. If he were to remain a prince and become king, everything conceivable, every good in this life would be his. But it was his choice to take up the trainings of the Bodhisattva, which require the sacrifice of all of those good things. And he chose this. So he didn't remain preoccupied and interested in fame, wealth, family, and friends, all of which he would have had as king. Instead, he chose to train in the way of the Bodhisattva at Nalanda University.
Oh, toshita, tende idu anida. Korangi jase sanju sanju chobala ta lavede damne. Ane ta bombala debara baba der sedanda korangi. Penata ngaranzo suzu sul pe jarba inas. Ane ngaranzo suzugi. 직 너롱주에 다 아니 직 도고 담소 르당세데 내하고 요마레스 갈락하고 요래 다 수수고 다 쳐보지 거래 아니 로 장미지 매나 땅 두고 말 되고 또도 그 땅나 땅도 땅들려 땅 두고 말에 제가 갈락하고 요래스 말한도 반다 직 세디나나 직 수수기 직 대화도 차선 룸마투야 동해 차선 세 마투야기 싸워 찍디 가르스나 말아도 세딜려 땅 투여 말았어 세딜려 땅 또그 땅술려 땅으로 세상 딜려 땅으로 제가 하고 여러 와 세상 때 계속 전주서 뭐 코랑게 다시 세디기 디지 차선려 땅 아니 다 치마 제 치마 편지기 대화만도 세디기 대화를 좀 차와 매와 체니 아니 자세 전주서 몇 저벌 라버레 손으로서
So Shantideva chose to train in the conduct of the heirs of the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas. He chose to train in the mind of enlightenment, and he stayed at the monastery where he trained in this. And if we apply this same idea, the same choice to our own case, and imagine ourselves and our needs for wealth, food, clothing, and the rest, we'll recognize that it takes decisiveness. And Shantideva was decisive he had to sacrifice and part with all of these good things because in this life, what makes us incapable of experiencing contentment, that which forces us to continue to suffer, is the inability to part with these things. But Shantideva parted with all of these ostensible good things so that he could train in the way of the Bodhisattva. He abandoned this life as a preoccupation and made his focus lives to come and fortune in lives to come, and trained in bodhicitta.
이내 코란 게 제가다 전주 선배가 냠래 땅아주 단다 로종이 냠래나 유리서 뭐 가려서나 미테네 피스 미테네 피 키제 톱스 키제네 피니 파제 톱스 되게 거기 니에바 숨세하게 냠래지어 로종나 어디 코란 나 요래서 그러지.
This practice of the way of the Bodhisattva finds its way into the mind training, and there in the mind training, this progression is referred to as the 3 stations: leaving the station of humans and finding the station of the dog, leaving the station of the dog and becoming and finding the station of the gods.
야, 제가 그 미제는 비세에다 지단다 대시 자반 때때스면다 용거리 이내 미제는 비세가 변한 자세 전부시 올라차면은 코란 미기 조 개뷰세레 아니 미기 나네 뺐다 초도 줄바 대지 차 여러대 이나양 코란에 되게 차단 르다네 아니 미제는 바 비니 미드 균의 드라마에 아니 고발 때참 장야된 미드 신의 균의 드라마에 저도 지구신이 아니 바게 미기 지도도 드라마에 봐서 대화 인상 아니 미제는 비세를 냠는데 나가래서 거죠.
To leave the station of men, as Shantideva did, entails, as was his case, being first born supreme among men as a prince. He had everything, the best that a human could wish for. But he abandoned all of that, and this was the abandonment of the station of man.
예, 다 기대급세대 아니 땅아서 기도되나 아니 배나 기도임 땅아서 그 기대스다 고파 간제 칠로 비야죠다 아니 콜라지 통중제야다 지 거기에 간다 내당 미 딱한데 미더죠 유백 심정나는 다 이슈 기대 다 기대네요 아니 간다 고 기대스는 그 소도 되는 거야다 아니 콜라지 간다 지금 세고를 때마다 신다 맞아야 돼 여러 와서는 들이 이거 치대니에서 나지고 간다다 하게 그리고 미기 지도다 봐 저함에 봤을 때 아니 가르치기로서는 아니 미족이네다 지고 간다를 참여해서 매라 당사 아니 딱 코페 지 신기 말 거기 지 코페 사야 통해 녀만도 신기 말 콜로페 로정 요 말씀이 참여해서 초담다 만배치에서 내 차와 인상 아니 기대니 했으라고 해서
Shantideva left the station of ordinary men and parted from that, took up residence in the monastery where he was alone. And there we then call this station taking the station of the dog, which is to take the lowly position of a dog who is abused, denigrated. He's set apart. He's not part of ordinary life among men. He's given scraps. He lives simply, and others scorn him, abuse him, denigrate him. It appears as though he does nothing but eat and drink and has nothing else, no knowledge of any merit. And so for this reason, this is known as the station of the dog.
맞지 등산 아래는 치리 자신 부시고 차리고야 배드 다다 되기 하고 맞다. 예, 차르절이나 다 자도이나 치스도 좀 받다 두제 쇼지기다. 미시도 치도도 두제 쇼지기로 어디에 지수요래 한건 뭐도 당도 됐습니다. 이거를 다 되네 다대 톱스들 다 그럼 지도는 규마대 대 고민도 제 도고 담술로 담에 규마지 되어 있나? 아니 그런 갈차려서는 그런 아니 땡이지 또 아니 땡이 동도 주주지 온게 아니 직박에 랑게 대반이기 되랑게 또 아니 시행로에 다 전주다는 바 대바니 남샤 시기도 하잖아. 랑이 귤라 대바니 또벌로 요벤자 아니 시엘라 시기요래. 아니 대나시 주주기 또비 나가라 그러기요래. 랑라 아니 아 띵에서 주주기 토범에 바 토비와인자 아니 미가가 차져서 사도 차바로 왔어. 제가 말에 톱스도 해서
Now, this may be different here. The connotation of a dog, calling someone a dog, may be a bit different in the U.S. Because so many have domestic dogs, and it may convey something different here. In the East, though, to call a person a dog is very, very demeaning. So there may be a difference, but what is meant here is that Shantideva adopted this lowly station, and in this lowly station, his life was very simple, and others denigrated him. But in this station, he practiced in such a way that he achieved samadhi, and with the power of samadhi, the force of samadhi, he was able to produce magical emanation, and furthermore, he realized the two truths. And with this power, he was able, as I described, to levitate from his seat. And he became, from the lowly station of a dog, he became one worthy of homage, just as a deva is, so a god, the station of a god.
좋다. 어제다 다 그런 게다 장주자세 장주선배 저박에 저박에 그런 게 줄게. 아니 랑이 냠슬랑배 냠뇽대. 아니 가서 주주다라 마송 다디 가서 냠슬랑 보고 열에 손으로.
So with that, Shantideva achieved in his own mind the trainings, the charya of the Bodhisattva. He trained in this, and he practiced in this, and he gained experience in the way of the Bodhisattva. And then we turn our attention to training in this very same conduct.
좋다. 근데 이들 다 가서 주주들 루주가 다니 고랑게 냠뇽 시송전다 가서 대비 주주들 대비 셴바 좀 만나신 전에 아니 직하게 간다지 뭐 얘가다 근데 진행부 트여 말 간절 수수고 똑바 줄어주 냠뇽 여바티 가도 칸이 셰베게 아니 마직 빼지 차대 열었어. 인상 때에 이도 당부 가르송 가서 장주쌤들 편송 거야지 아니 장주쌤들 로비하게 쪼아게 배치도 아니 당부도 장주쌤들 편송 와서 해송었어.
So the present text, the Bodhicharya Avatara, in 10 chapters, shouldn't be considered and imagined to be like other books that are composed by authors. This is the expression, the spontaneous expression spoken by one who had achieved realization. And so it is the spontaneous speech that then became the present text. And in the first of the 10 chapters, the first chapter, it describes the benefits of bodhicitta, the benefits of the mind of enlightenment for the purpose of generating an enthusiasm for bodhicitta in others.
그렇죠. 아니 이바델라다 가르소는 참 대대로 표현의 대백이 장주선데 줄라 깨발라 토마 아니 디바샤 보고 열에 디바샤바 제발라 디바 다백이 지기 디바 다야게 소놈 그 똑도 고고 열에 어디 지돌라는 소놈 그 소소야가 지돌라 아니 소소야게 탑초도 주바 양라 주바 양라 dü기 안에다 당고 체별이 어디 숨고 열에 숨어서.
And the second chapter is a chapter of confession, which is necessary in order to develop the mind of enlightenment in the mind. In order for confession to successfully eliminate negativities in one's mind, however, one first must have the merit to engage in purification. And for this reason, one engages in the 7-branch offering.
그 양라 딜라양 다 저거 피할 대전들 가상어서 고등어 삽제 아니 다 치 쳐봐다 난기 쳐봤다고 송하다고 뭐 송하 라나 여봐다 라나 매봐 어디되게 쳐봐 비주다 가서 고등어 삽제 뭐 쉬 차버렸어 다 디나네 다 단단하고 시야 가서 봐봐 가서나 쳐봐들라 아니 봐 저거 피할 대전들 아니 대전 삽제도 중립도 치 디나 마시기 어려서.
In the context of offerings, we have described these offerings as outer offerings and inner offerings. Public offerings or offerings of common goods and offerings of personal possessions, surpassable offerings and unsurpassed offerings. And now we arrive at the section describing 12 sorts of material offerings. Often offerings are described as of three kinds: material offerings, offerings of protection from fear, or sometimes also offerings of service, and third, the offering of accomplishing the teachings. Bohudigi Sengarne.
Al couldn't do you couldn't do you couldn't do you
the illustrious Atisha had three heart disciples, and the heart disciple known as Kudun Sundru Yondrup was an officer and had material wealth to give, so he made offerings of material goods. And Ami Jangchup, the other of Atisha's heart disciples, was his cook and prepared meals for him, so provided the offering of service to Atisha. And then Dromdompa made the offering of practice, accomplishing the teachings. That was his offering to Atisha. The main heart disciple of illustrious Atisha was Dromdompa. For the offering that Dromdompa made was the offering of carrying out the very word of his teacher, Atisha. Every instruction Atisha gave, Dromdompa exemplified it, and in this way made the offering of accomplishing the teaching and the word of the teacher. It was his lifelong service and practice to Atisha. Ame Changchup was the chef, the cook for Atisha, and so served him in this way. And then the lowliest of these three disciples was merely a student of Atisha's, and this is Kudun Sundru Yondrup, and he was a mere student of Atisha's and lowliest of these three.
And dine diolata the lamala chick shabdo shubata the dechivater and dine somebody tama de ani karesna sansing chuba was. Oh yeah, cheben and the chubet rabdi dube chuba, then chuba drink the shabdo chuba. Chuba tama de ani sansing chuba, oh the bird of the your response.
So the very best form of offering of all is the offering of carrying out the word of the teacher, the achievement of the instructions of the spiritual mentor. This is the very best, the sublime, most sublime form of offering. Second to this is the offering of service, that which Ami Jangchuk provided to Atisha. And then third, lowliest of all, is the offering that is mere material offering. And so these are the best achievement of the word of the teacher. Next to that, the offering of service, and then lowest of the forms of offering is material offering.
Oi, 다들 두배 쳐봐도 쳐봐 초 차야 돼. 가서는 두배 쳐봐도 피부이나 아니 쳐봐 피우기 그다 라마이나자 군조이나 가리나 간다 쳐봐 피도 두배 쳐봐도 피도 군조 니쇼 라마 니쇼도 요거와 제자고 쳐봐 쳐도 봐지기 어레스 아니 디젤라 샤도 아니 산생이 쳐봐 피워디 아니 다 저거 쳐봐 피워 나신 라마니아 바들이 요한 테스 카고요 제가 데리디 아니 쳐봐 피워라 때네 쳐봐 피우기 손놈 수체 사기는 디 쳐봐라 쳐봐 손놈 쳐봐 피워라 때네 손놈 테스 교가 싸워도 아니 쳐봐 매서 어디에 가서 수술로 손놈 야 피우니 손놈 가르쳐 싸기는 디 쳐봐 랍식으로 하고 제가 이디 다 두배 쳐봐 피워야지 아니 쳐봐 피워야다는 쳐도 주바들에 손을
So why is it that it is the best offering, the best form of offering of all? That is, why is offering of exemplifying and achieving the instructions of the teacher the best form of offering of all? It is the best because to whomever it is made as offering, it is certain to delight that personage, the guru, the three jewels, whomever it is the most appreciated form of offering of all. Then follows the offering of service, and then follows a material offering. A material offering doesn't bring as much pleasure to the personage, to the three jewels, to the guru, as the other forms of offering. And what distinguishes the very best form of offering from lesser forms of offering is the amount of merit that it achieves for the individual making that offering. And so when the offering delights the three jewels, the guru, then it is the highest form.
도지 근데 이제 잡았다 제세 좀 시원하게 아니 나 내가 쳐봐 표야가 시험도 땡인진다 땡인진지 거는 쳐봐 표야다 아니 집 밖에 간다 랑다 땡인진 당보 땡인진 두배하게 규이치도라 매배 쳐봐 얘네 땡인진 두배 땡인진 쳐봐 표에서 개첨보진에 쏜 거야 돼 아니 나 나도 쳐봐 표야 돼 산생기 쳐봐 집고지 표이나 아니 나도 쳐봐 럽소는 야첨보 싸야 There's Kabuyo in that, and thinking to be Chubapia, the kitchen was in the Teshiki or Esmos.
Shantideva and the offerings he makes offerings out of the force of samadhi. He achieves samadhi, and then through the power of samadhi is able to make the most consequential offerings. And in order to develop samadhi in the first place, visualization of offerings is employed as a cause for later achievement of samadhi, and it is emphasized in the text. If one only strives making material offerings, one will not develop the power of samadhi to make the most sublime form.
Oh, 딱 한번 쳐봤으니 가래 니에봐 쳐배기 개도디 군자지도 예부 중앙서도 간다를 랑기 쳐봐 피우지다 랑타 녀르시마 배 녀우차바 tum부차바 배 쳐봐 피우다 고준이 삼주 찍고 차바이나 아니 예봐 쳐봤으니 다 상기 열에 손을
When an offering is made and it delights the personage to whom it is made, it brings them pleasure. This is a closeness, a familiarity, a commonality shared with that individual. And so the Sanskrit punza is delight, and this is conveyed by the offering.
Oh, yes, that 쳐봤더라다 먼저 가다 공도 쳐봤나지 지다 쳐박이 다다 피야 뭐 세야 되나 먼저 가르쳐야 되나 다 답은 마음에 들어와 다들이 답은 마음에 쳐봤더 들어서 다디네 리뷰에 쳐봐 들어서 다디네 먼저 쳐봐 예주고 쳐봤다 두경하나도 여와코에 쳐봐 피야디 강 안에 가서 sab지 중에 답을 추이제 아니 지도로 쳐봐 난 나사표에 예표에 시제 아니 지당 매도 뼈다 아니 셰세 표와체 계제 아니 디가라 춤 나세 춘 드메체 사시 표와체 강바 표와체 두 표와 어디데 저거 중이 표단치 단중단 송구 열에서
As I said earlier, there are offerings made of common resources, and we have concluded that section. And there are offerings made of one's own body and service. We have concluded that as well. And so we resume the 12 material offerings that make up the 12 daily offerings. They include bathing, drying, dressing, adorning, perfuming, offering flowers, incense, feast food, light, grounds, palace, an inestimable mansion, and 12th, the offering of the parasol.
어제 다 추가 추치사게 추강 표가래 제일 치다 치약이 아주 표거래 되네 나사 표수자마다 초고 주고 이나 그냥 표이디 초바 표사디 아니 초고 주고다 결론가 남바제이나 나사 표 표야디 표사도 수수고 그게 간데 초바 표사디 아니 롱구 자진 저거다 결론 많이 봐이나 개인 표고라서 개인 표 시직선 아니 디네 예절다 내가 온봉을 초바 표고로 티 아니 매도디 울어 표고래 아니 뼈디 샹로 표고래 쉐디 셰즈 칼라 표고라 어디 예주 시체 아니 드레메스도 체메 난세 아디마 알레 디바드샤다 아니 쉐버도 거든 셰차 아디네 디 심바디 드리셰 고요로
The first form of offering of a bathing chamber where the bathing takes place. We've completed the second as well, the offering of cloths to dry the personages. This we finished. When they dress, then as a third offering, when we dress the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas in their raiment, the bhikshus, those who are ordained will wear robes. Those in Sambhogakaya form, male and female alike, will be adorned with jewelry, and then they are perfumed. The perfume is for the pleasure of the olfactory senses of theirs, and then they are adorned too with flowers, which bedecks their bodies, and then they are given incense for the pleasure of their olfactory sense, and feast food for gustatory pleasure, and then this eighth offering of feast food we completed last week, so we'll resume here with 9, 10, and 11.
어도지 다디네 가능한도 타마타마디 셴세 콜레셰 뭐 셴세 사도나도 제바이 나준남데 텔라 우어지 딱 세. 저바디 가능한도 셰버지 다 세. 가능도 딱 가두이네 세기 가능도 다 니마직나라 미다 용다도 제바이네 니마직의 뒤숨기 아니 아주 세사기로 와서다 세사도 좀 많이 수주고 세 마사고 엔진민지 군조라 쳐버 피토나 뭐는 군조라 피고이나 아니 디네 수주 사와이나 아니 세사베기 아니 평행모도 예범해와 근데 차그랬더니 쳐버 피했는데 개쳐버 열에서 왔습니다.
On page 39, verse 16, the verse describes the offering of feast food. I will offer swelling clouds of frankincense whose ambient perfume ravishes the mind, and various foods and every kind of drink, all delicacies worthy of the gods. Normally we eat 3 meals a day, and so before we eat our meal, if we make an offering to the sacred 3 jewels, and then only after this eat our meal, this becomes a constructive form of offering.
뭐도지 간다 랑게 세세월라 때는 예번 마중아 배운 중나 아니 야고 열어서 디리 아니 세 간지 세부터 말아도 세다 가지 세다 가서 세 사야라야 같이당 세 말 가지고다 샤사야다 가리 이번에 원래 군조로 쳐가 피투어이나 라라니 세기 돈은 예번 용아서 캐르고 봐 매번 차그래 아니 배운 토베들이 Tachida Nag Yamne China, and the Kora Mixed Chicoya Mangu Yore. That you Nag Yamne Machine Ibaina said Kujolo Putuna, and a round of seg to the Neva Mangu Mayo, the Pen Yores, or any seg or the guy and Dineta Mazu di Chema Nanse Nanse Puerece, that is Saudi Sergi Pema, Sardonga, Rinjin Tremenam, the Uber keys, or the that Saudi response.
In our daily meals, when an offering is made before we eat our own meal, when an offering is made to the three jewels, this prevents there being any faults that may be associated with the way we consume the meal, and also brings the offering brings benefits. So in the context of the secret Mantrayana, there are sometimes special regulations regarding food and drink. If one makes an offering in this context, it prevents any transgression and assures that the practice is constructive. So now we move on to the verse 17. I will offer precious lamps arranged in rows on lotuses of gold, a carpet of sweet flowers scattering upon the level incense sprinkled ground.
Oh, that is thoughts from shooting. That's said if my Sadunga is that under the Nancy Pia, Bagay Pusak, no, that is any you sell it to Baiba. Another sell the Chibuma that which is Rikanga over that's all. You sell a pechaki, that's Sergi Himba. And if and Pema the supply in you, and it's starting with Lujuma, we wait that, and if the Pema Nashi. And it's hard to know what it is about the pay on the law, Chaba had a period, the Zuba, Yila to Tardibo, Inju, or the day you go your resonance.
This is the offering of light, and the precious lamps. The lamps themselves are made of precious materials of gold, as well as any precious material, any other precious material. But we use gold as an example of the highest quality material, but they may be made of any sort of precious material, and they're in the shape of lotuses, that most precious and storied of flowers, and they are arranged very carefully, fastidiously, in such a way that it is breathtaking.
Oh, yeah, that is gentlemen on the Uber keys, that Muching German. That on that German said that Chesa Nima Dawane, Chinning around the Chimney and the Puerto Cadar, the work Nancy Chazan Puku, your resolution. Sage Bema Sadonga, gentlemen on the Uber keys, Muching that on the Remuchis down the Tevasiro down the Tevaganita. Okay, that's Chesal Chewa and Niman dog, where is it in imagine it. That law will that Chemig with among Kari with Nancy will country when the Ganga and in Chevena Boom and Pure Hessons.
I will offer precious lamps arranged in rows on lotuses of gold. As one visualizes the light offering may be made of lamps of all sorts of precious material and the most precious and valuable materials. And the illumination should include, it can be the total of all illumination of the sun and the moon, and then the many various forms of lamps that are made in offering, and the butter lamps and all the rest, all the illumination of all these light offerings together are visualized as offered.
Tanda the Nancy Chevenala Pugures. Any Takanda forget the Nancy Chevena Pug, Ranchi Kanda Chogas Tanang, that is Meda Yorama the Shanka, the Ranchi Kanda, Nancy Chevana Pugures.
So all the illumination sun, moon, the many stars, the many lamps one's offering, candles and butter lamps, all of this, all of the some illumination of these light offerings, being the nature of light, are offered. And light offering, as presented in various rituals, takes different forms, but it is essentially of these of the illumination of light.
미국 지도자 맞다 직보게 생라이는 문바세와 다가도 생라 요는 인물이야 요 바로 대한배다 요 바로 나네 아니 직보 지든지 강갈 봐 문바세 투야 요하게 되는데 요 캡치 못인데 미국 지도자 표고를 해서
An illumination, the illumination of the light offering conveys the dispelling of darkness, dispelling darkness in all directions, dispelling it so that light pervades in all directions.
또 나지 나 라메기도 이나 아니 다 저가도 다 영어도 알롱게스 표도 알롱게 표도 나 라메 저거 지고다 이만 나와도 강가 표고요. 그냥 유디샤 자유다 저래이나 디범라서 디범스 자기합니다. 요 디범스 최면도 데스 야충으로 이만 나와도 생 말해. 어디데 제발 요런 수도 되게 저가다니 있는 이거처럼 데스입니다. 요래 손으로
In the unexcelled highest tantra practices, aloke is the word for the light offering, and the light offering contains the illumination of the sun and the moon, and it has its unique mudra. And in the Kriya Tantra and the Charya Tantra, these lower tantras have a different instructions in the ritual. The syllable is dipam, or the mantra is dipam, and dipam and the mudra is slightly different, and the illumination of the light offering includes the illumination of lamps, but not the sun and the moon. So in terms of the visualization between these higher and lower tantra systems, there's something to pay attention to.
예, 초가 중에 자기는 뒤에 알롱게스도 누시고 이만 더 전되는데 알롱게는 누시 때문이야 다 된 거. 아디 자주도 지구도이나 알롱게 뒤지 뭐래 알롱게 누시. 처음에도 어디에 지금 고 데스 캡치 좀 개발 난 초가도 자기 데스 메달을 요를 하고는 야고요를
In the ritual liturgy of the highest unexcelled yoga tantras, aloke is the mantra, and the mudra appears like this, and the thumbs are visible here on top, and they symbolize the sun and the moon. And in the kriya and the lower tantras, the mudra is slightly different, and the mudra doesn't convey the same illumination of the sun and the moon, for the sun and the moon aren't included in that visualization in that lower tantra. The thumb is in the center of the four fingers, and that symbolizes something like the lamp's flame itself.
오야 다들 나는 세대 지워체 다는 세대산 다들이 셰메 강스카 강바 표현들 강바 셰 강사 맞아 셰 강 표현도 유용하도 셰 강도 표현도 민과 제도 아니 라메도 오이나니 셰가 깨고로야 깨 표현지 방법 적으로 와 다단다 될 하기 셰가 되고 공부 영어로 이내다 간다 밖에 슈사기 강바도 교회로 알아서 표바도 강바도 다 수수로 가서 표도나 아니 개부터도나 벨하도 시에가 나시제 대마중에 아니 수수 벨 강가야야 노야 주는 표를 해서
We move on to the offering of the inestimable mansion, a palace, and as one makes this offering, one should visualize in as vast and elaborate a manner as one is able. In the unexcelled highest yoga tantras, there is the practice of generating the unexcelled inestimable mansion. It's not that we have to do that precisely here, but one should envision visualize as elaborate a palace as one is able.
어두제 다들 싸워도 너무 쉬셔졌어. 사실대로 뿌리 주바 테러스 매도 이용 세만 잠바 키 오 딸이 디고 디도다 데 디도다 데 나는 매도 그래도 디도 사실대로 기 사실 표현들도 다 뭐 사실 표현들이자 생이디 대시에 강들이 제일 되기도 다 무슨 사실 표현들이죠 어디서 생이디 사실 표현들이 근데 진짜 나는 놈도 잘 셨다
Next follows the offering of the ground, followed immediately after by the offering of the inestimable mansion. These two are in the verses, one right after the other. So the offering of the ground begins, a carpet of sweet, in verse 17, a carpet of sweet flowers scattering upon the level, incense sprinkled ground. To those whose very nature is compassion, I will give vast palaces resounding with fair praise. Those are the first two lines of verse 18.
아니 딜라베 멘도 뼈도 제마도 주고 뼈 마부터 멘도 바터 왔다 짬바들 치고로 하고 디나시 다른 데도 쳐봐 비도양 아니 사시디 시장부 장마 딜라네 베 치신보로 때 주고 아니 멘도 세마로 멘도 세마바 짬바다 아니 멘도 청와대를 정바도 데 비버치는 표를 해서 그러시나
In the preparation of the grounds are clean, are meant to be clean and swept and polished. And just as we make the way for a guest when they visit by preparing the ground, by making it fragrant, by scattering flower petals, sweeping, making sure that the grounds are smooth, soft, fragrant, and inviting with scattered petals. And just so do we do here.
도저 사실 표현체 다디네 시 다디 이네 이르샤 시에강 표현 강보 표현들도 나 강보 표현데 시메 보다 또양 이용된 모델인지 괜찮 제버와서 바에 나가 기주 대다장 투지랑시 잖아 우월기 소 측시도 디기다 시에강 표현들의 소성
And this is followed by the offering of the inestimable mansion, verse 18, to those whose very nature is compassion, I will give vast palaces resounding with fair praise, all decked with precious pearls and beauteous pendant gems, gleaming jewels that deck the amplitude of space.
오야 제단다 대간다 시에강라 그래 시메강 줄다 가리네 수술 나다르다 시에강스는 타기 간다 슈사기다 강산들에 시메 강수도 담아다 시기때 시제다 시메 강수도 로기 파게 간다 세제야 매봐 로기 로유도 베디가즈 요르 디가즈 세제도 매봐들라 시메 강수 시에 강수는 하기 강산스 어디에 쓰기 요래 손으시
I will give vast palaces. A palace may be understood as a residence of a deva, a palatial residence. Also used is the name for such a palace, inestimable mansion. This would be, as the name conveys, a residence that is immeasurable in its dimensions. So this, a palace, an immeasurably grand mansion, this is offered.
도저 다시 포장스도 막 간다다 예보이나 예보대사 강바드가 예보 포장스 그래 아니 딱 반다 간다 나라도다 군조 쇼사게 강바이다 시에강 포장스 맹다그와 시에강스 간다 데데라 그래 데데레스다 시에강 아니 또야 요원 대수보다 간도 군조 쇼사 포장들다 가르치고 군조도 쇼베 치도라 아니 루얀량으로 앞에 다 양념보 아니 베다 파이 보다 보면서 써봐 대다게 아니 라게 루이드 바트 아니 양념보다 다 되게 쳐봐 배워 되게 이도 와서 좀마다 이 가와 쳐봐 양념바 이일을 태보 어디저기 처가 표를 해서 그랬어.
Such a palace may be a palace of a king, it may be a palace of a deva, and we call these palaces of devas and kings. And this particular inestimable mansion is the residence of the sacred three jewels. And there, in this sacred residence, these vast palaces resound with fair praise. Music, melodious musical offerings are made. Devaputra, male and female devas, emanated from one's heart center, convey these offerings of melody, that which is pleasing to the ear and contagious.
당연하죠. 지금 수수고 정보 공부 라만 가르쳐 있는 것도 되게 다 거기에 셰땅 아니 지금 체닝지고 그 아니 지금 하기 체도 가르쳐 아니 저 간들 룰랑 또 거기에 떠봐 체지기도 어디 나시다 나라도 가다 분조고 얘데 유가나도 있지 거기에 셰땅 나시지다 지금 간다 차단 원도 소야 되게 무지 많이 먹고 저거다 간다 고송 토지 예대 제베 루랑 어디에 제바이나 아니 군조 녀바 제로 하다 대전에 아니 또야 제고야 어디에 해서로.
Now, when guests arrive, there are songs sung in appreciation of the guests. Performer makes themselves presentable and then sings, extols the praise for the guest. And the same is done here, but these aren't praises sung with any desirous attachment, but rather praises sung out of appreciation for the incredible qualities of the personages there.
투제다 대야야라 덴바체 아니 모디르지 진기 제바다 간다 나로라 게 컴베나라 게자 아니를 뭐지 모디다 세르다 우다 제마다다 보이셰다 망고 무지 망고 여러와 오 되게 개인기 빼 나가 강화되게 빼 장샤와 바람샤와 어 되게 여봐 쟤는 미국 제 표를 해서 그렇지 어디든지 괜찮은 제벌 와서도
all decked with precious pearls and bounteous pendant gems, gleaming jewels that deck the amplitude of space. The vast palace is decorated in these precious materials, coral and amber and all of the rest. These are the ornaments of these are the features of the vast palace.
근데 제벌 다음에 빠에 나가 인줄 대다 장스 빠에 쓰면 다 간다 타이봐 다 간다를 빠게 나게게 컴 다들 나게게 컴 가지고 디나시 배 야치 보여봐 배 체매봐 아니 직 빠게 타이봐 오 되게 예바게 아니 배 나가게 가다 나가게 개인도 장워도 대다 오 되게 대다 탐지자 아니 투지 라시젤라 우와지 투지 라시젤라 우와서도 상계다 참주선 뭐 탐젤라 우월기 승고를 해서노지.
Gleaming jewels that deck the amplitude of space. The amplitude of space is this infinite space, vast beyond measure, and hanging, decorating this amplitude are all of these precious pearls and bounteous pendant gems, decorating the very amplitude of space. And this is for the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas for their enjoyment.
도대체 세상 다 간다 땡겨진 게또 피고서 땡겨진 아주 뒤유이나 다 아주 땡겨진 게 방고 가족 나게 친기라베요 람얌 컴스 이렇게 또는 아니 방고 봐 세바면 하다 봐 차바 프로와 아니 트레바 어디에 돈을 땡겨진 게돈 파트 나게 컴 간가 시에간도 배 나가 아주 단데 대에서 나가 컴나지 배 전부 이어봐 대다 탐들 안에 루무진다 얘네들 나서 게임봐 오 되게 여봐대 아니 다 투지라신도 좀 대신시 봐 명이라고 봐 대신시 봐라 투지라 가져다 심쟁이 되나 뒤따도 아니 심지어는 잡아다 저와 인지 또 저기 수고이와 이자고로 투지를 하시지 되게 투지를 하시지 예배가 대신시 만나면 아니 배워지기 인스 다 생기 된다든지 저래서
And to those whose very nature is compassion, I will give vast palaces resounding with fair praise. All decked with precious pearls and bounteous pendant gems, gleaming jewels that deck the amplitude of space. The amplitude of space is so bedecked in this way through the force of samadhi. In the secret mantrayana, we have the syllables ram, yam, kam, conveying the pervasion of all of space, the multiplicity throughout all of space, and one fills all of space with these precious jewels, ornamenting the very amplitude of space. And this is given to those whose very nature is compassion. Those whose very nature is compassion is the name of the Tathagata. They are given this name, known by this name, because they are always toiling for the well-being of sentient beings out of love and compassion for them. And so they have this name.
아니 지금 라마 친구들이 표주자 뭐에는 동도도 배 쉬울 배 고젠다고 답했다 레자 친구 그지다 때문에 레기 공 친구들이 쇠도 독 쇠네 근데 표도 하고 예 되나신다 군조라야 아니 가서 독 표고 여래서
Okay, that then concludes the 11th offering of the inestimable mansion, now followed by the offering of the parasol. An offering of a parasol, we have when it is raining, we use an umbrella. In the sun, we have for sunshade the parasol. And when a special guest, a special teacher visits, it is customary to use to shade them a parasol made from the finest fabrics, from silk, and the rest in this verse describes such a parasol.
다 도대 안에 지금 밖에 가나서도 유비 지금 두기대로 짜제줘다 님과들 많이 봐. 도대 르무칭 도를 제봐. 르무칭 두기랑 신임바. 아니 요알아서 봐도 셀다 무도 무딜 저거들 임바. 아니 지 타고도 고유라 아니 무디가. 아네 도지 발람다. 아니 되게 차다 제마고 따여 봐. 되게 배 간다르 수다와 이나야 배 제버 통화 이동 어디든지 거래 소로지.
And this parasol that we visualize is not an ordinary umbrella or anything like that, but a parasol made of the most precious materials. The fabrics are precious, and the shaft is made of coral and gold and silver. Along the outer edges of the parasol are diamonds and coral, and it is all very delicately interlaced with fine jewels.
어떻게 다 간다 이저 입도 레바 따나 누가 배 수따나 배 제버다 이동아 통화 아니 나게 개나 시한데 마샤샤와 녀샤와 뭐야 쟁바 되게 아니 도대 아니 따도 통화나라 우버치스 아니 두배 온보 남라 다시 군조순가 우버치스가 해서는 사වත් 교주에서
Page 40, fair and precious parasols adorned with golden shafts, all bordered round with hymns of precious jewels, upright, well proportioned, pleasing to the eye. Again, all this I give to all the Buddhas. So here, parasols that are breathtaking, ravishing to any and all who see them. Such parasols are made as offerings, again, to all the Buddhas.
다 두표가 되지 거지. 다 진내 로모표왔어. 그래. 아니 한 말롱비. 쳐봐야지 그래다. 어디 레스다 되게 싸워도 가렸으나 텔레시아 최배소 모양이 용데 심제 두개 심제배 지능 수수 내줄지 소도 melom도 쳐버려서
Next follows a verse of music offering. May a host of other offerings and clouds of ravishing sweet melody that solaces the pain of living beings arise and constantly abide.
오야 다 텔레시아 최배소서 다징한도 다 강로 쳐봐만 보지 필사로 왔다 쳐봐 자 망체로 조사를 쳐봐로 이내 다 디다나로 마두베기 쳐봐 대야 마임바 아니 로모다 양녀보다 아니 배다 빈대기 쳐봐 아니 지금 말은 쳐봐 표가 되게 요래서 유이 쳐봐 시고다 최백이 쳐봐 최백이 젤레기 쳐봐데 가르쳐버 유이 쳐봐데 아니 쳐봐 강로 피야 되달래 셴바 아니 로모다 양나 소바 되게 쳐봐 피야 요바디 시기 요래서
We've already described many forms of offering, and now there are several that weren't included above. They are offerings of melody and music and prayer. And so those that weren't included above are described here.
오야 세상 다 되네 네가 다 최배 젤레기 쳐버 가르쳐서 샘젠 동에 심 제배 지금 수수 내주지 다만 이보되기 아니 최박이 젤레기 쳐버 시고 다 최박이가 젤레 쳐버 가르요랬으나 아니 샘제기 동에 세와다 대외기 아니 심벌 제바 심벌 제바 당 아니 최백이다 배 심벌 제바라 때는 아니 심제기 간제다 최백이 되다 아니 다 가다 배 세바메바 배 균체바메바 배 뒤다도 내버 주직스탄 그런 주가 제가 요래서
In this verse 2, these offerings are described in unique terms of their function here, differing from those which precede them here. So these offerings of music, sweet melody, and the rest solaces the pain of living beings, we find. Solaces the pain of living beings and arise and constantly abide. So the special quality of these offerings is that they bring relief to the suffering of sentient beings and brings them satisfaction. And so too, the component of this offering that is a prayer is this aspiration that these sweet melodies that relieve the pain of living beings arise and constantly abide.
뭐야 다 간다 디다 쳐봐들라 melom기 쳐봐양 시그레스 melom기 쳐봐 시고한테 가서나 말한저가 딱 간다 뒤 다 하간 제가 들어와 있네라 라마 제가 들어와 있네라 내제 두고 여봐 있네라 아니 지금 가다지 표가 있네라 무유 표가 있네라 표 강지 표가 있네 처음에 표가 있는 거 melom 제로 와 melom 제한테 제가 캐쳐 버렸어 melom 제로 제가 뒤도 아니 것도 다다 어디게 가가 다다 디나는 시기 요랬어 텔레시아 집에서 디나는 시기 요랬잖아 아주 melom기 줘봐야 라고 요래서 그렇지.
Now, this is also called the offering of prayer, as prayer is a component of offerings in all the forms of offering in which we are engaged. When we visit temples, when we greet teachers, when we go on pilgrimages to holy sites, and when we make offerings of silken scarves, when we make light offerings, all forms of offerings are accompanied by prayer, and this verse describes prayer as the offering.
then melom jago di shira keche bore ganzo daja tyomba ta luju ta kerap so kerap ta ti mai ba luju mango na ani melom to la tene ani de busanje ji ko wa thobe ge luju mango yore so.
Prayer is very consequential and is found to be very powerful in the Jataka tales of the Buddha, the many life stories of the Buddha, in which by the force of prayer, later the Buddha achieves Buddhahood.
melom jaade ani samba chanju ge semji simba jowa chindu ge simba o tende ge simba inani ani melom khari jamna ya matuba yungu mares Malam Jabu at the Karata, Malam Jamni, Jabu Kubek, Chitola, Malam Jabu Yorosilla, the Samjul, Samjul numbers was boy the kitchen boys, somebody that Samba Sambo, Chuna, Samju Maduna, Samba Sambo, Simba, and it Jawadi, Siena, Pembeshi to Imba, and it paid 10 days to the Malam Jabayina and the Malam Jabu, Duba, you would
Prayers come to fruition when they are directed by bodhicitta and when they are executed in the correct manner. And so when the prayer for a given result is directed by the force of bodhicitta, then it will ripen assuredly. Without bodhicitta, a lesser form of intention, but a constructive intention nevertheless is a form of benevolence and generosity, less than bodhicitta, but nevertheless constructive. And when one makes an aspirational prayer for the well-being of sentient beings, and then one's action conforms, then it brings about the result.
that's it. Malam Mangoswara, Kobulu to young of the Malam Kumadi, Kobulu, the Malam Rajito, and the Malam Yawati, Q Guns, Yawati, Q Guns, Sonami, she lejo. Sonam Tambati, Roka, City Marusi to that. Yawati, Q Sonami, she letter, Sonam Tamba lejo, Tambakuni Topa shops. Or the day Malam Yores. And that running that Choba Malam Choba Karifisha, Choba people, Gawatilla Tene, and the Sonam saw Zoba, Ishig saw Zoba show. Oh, the day is good, they Sonam saw the Ishig saw Nila Tene, and Tam Jama Dibu Chuguni Toba show, Sasa, Pando Chuguni Toba show, all the Malam de response.
Now, in the precious garland composed by Nagarjuna, such a prayer is found by the force of this virtue. May the two collections be perfected, and as a result, may the two Buddha bodies be achieved. And this conveys the offering, that the offering may perfect the two accumulations, accumulation of merit and wisdom, and by the perfection of the accumulation of merit and wisdom, may the two Buddha bodies, the Buddha body from abandonment and realization, arise.
Oh yeah, that in that Cheba number you Michever never see la basking do subject that. No, to me, those had that go to the list of Shiba Ode. Oh yeah, that the secretary to that. Oh, Tamjo Kunjo Tamje Tangs, Chede Namda Kusula, Renje Medo Lasso Char, Yumi Chever Power Shows, Tawa Dershana.
With that, the 12 offerings and the extraneous, rather not extraneous, but those not included above, are completed, and we move to the unbroken, continuous offering of blessing. In verse 21, may rains of flowers and every precious gem fall down in an unceasing stream upon the jewels of sacred dharma, images, and all supports for offering.
That in the that dig see the cartos na. You know, long the tobes, long Tamju Kunjo Tamjeta, Tamju said that, Tamju della, Tambeche della, Kazangazo Kondo shake, Chijo go to Shiva Najin, that Lungi. Temba tobe temba niwa lungi temba and lungi temba di urab tige chumu jiri shi tona soba da tene sumla soba jawa tige se ta tobe temba di ani pangba chugu ta ani ishi chugu niyo kunjo tamje tangse ko di ni di so kunjo tamje tangse 아니 땡당스 그래서 뭐다 저 군조 뭐다 당 뭐도 저 군조제 당 농도 그때 뭐다 저 군조제 아니 군조 뭐지 저 군조제 아니 되게 땡디 아니 송럽 되게 돼 어디다 탐제 당서 어디서 뭐래서 하지 그래서
May rains of flowers and every precious gem fall down in an unceasing stream upon the jewels of sacred Dharma, images and all supports for offering. The sacred Dharma is a sacred Dharma of scripture and realization. The sacred Dharma of scripture includes the 84 heaps of teachings of the Buddha Vajana, and those are organized in the 3 baskets of the teachings. And the scripture, or rather the Dharma of realization, is the Dharma body and the wisdom body, the Dharma body being the perfection of the abandonments. And here, images and all supports of offering, the images, the sacred Dharma itself. The sacred Dharma itself is the Dharma, and then the basis, all supports for offering are the scriptures.
나도 거기 시행하다 나도 안들 뭐 군조 담도 저 탐제 방제 저뭐 뭐 저와 이론도 또 배치 당연히 대시 자한테 제로와 다 그 최군조 되지 그 데리가 고 송로 다 최대 남다스도 capmoede ki dukun jo cherwa de tendela chedense so da dine kusu dansedo samba sanje ki ku tribala anu ku lu mo da ku je yo ba thanga da jo pura kare sanje ji ku moede sanje ki da lungu de tubu cherwa de tendi anu ma da je yo thanga da ku jo o de zula 아니 렌제면 돌아 소바가 유메제로 쳐봐서 그거래서 야 뭐다 때려서 씨.
The actual Dharma is the Dharma of scripture and realization. Let me put this clearly. The actual Dharma is the Dharma of scripture and realization. And then the Sangha, and here we find images and all supports for offering. Images and all supports for offering describe the stupa and representations, drawn representations, tankas and the rest. Whereas the actual Dharma is maybe found in the Sambhogakaya form. Here the representations may be drawn in tanka form, etc. That's so much.
that's 참아서 내리려다 이 잠어다냐라나 다 나도 뒤 군조 숨스다 그러와 군조 숨스다 나도 뒤 다 시험부지도 다 나도 뒤지 맞으이나 당불 라마를 접죠 상결을 줘줘 그들 접죠 이래도 다 당불 라마를 접죠 라고도 라마디 접숨 군주에 사우사 접 군주 라마를 찾아도 군주 숨가를 찾아서 거쳐와 어디 직제 난 이거든 아주 뒤윤 가르치고 그러스나 산지 군주 sabdi 가르치고 그러스나 아주 산지 그 꾸당 아니 탕가다는 거 제꿀 뇌교다 티교다 그도와 어디도 산지 군주 그 꾸기 잡지는 저 갖고 나와서 지금서 최대의 긴드 군주 잡죠 꾸 송투로와 꾸디 가르쳐서 산지 꾸디제 송디 투디 최대의 그래서 송디 아니 송럽 부디죠. 어디서 숨라 아니 군조 숨라 쳐봐 나시 아니 이 잡지는 쳐봐 봐. 쳐봐 제도로 아니 루부체 매도로 써봐. 아니 다그 뒤중 쳐봐 가르치기만 디베 아니 차르바바 나시 제 윤쳐봐 매바지는 지역으로 해서 어디
to put this very clearly, there are the three jewels, and in the tradition of the Mahayana, the Guru, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha are all sources of refuge. And one goes first to the Guru in refuge. And that is because the Guru, the Lama, contains all refuges in one. And so, second, in place of the Dharma, as a substitute for the Dharma, the form of the Buddha, a representation of the Buddha is made, and as a substitute, or rather, in place of the enlightened mind of the Buddha, a stupa is made as representation. And in the place of the enlightened speech of the Buddha, the scriptures stand in place of the enlightened speech of the Buddha. And so here in the verse, this distinction is made. Images and all supports for offering. These images and all supports for offering are just these, and the flowers and precious materials fall in a continuous stream of offering like rain on these representations.
수수 나라야 구조 숨기 선별로 제 가르쳐오잖아. 동도 부디세 구디 구제 구제 최대리 아니 투 어디를 선도제는 구조 숨기 선도제는 약이 열어서 내가 쳐봐 그 차세 쳐봐 그들을 지기 열어서.
The representation of the Buddha's body is a representation of body, the form of the Buddha, a figural representation of the Buddha. And the representation of the speech of the Buddha is the Buddha is the scriptures. And the representation of the enlightened mind itself of the Buddha, and representation, or rather the Sangha itself. The Sangha itself is a representation of the enlightened mind of the Buddha. And so too is a stupa, a representation of the enlightened mind of the Buddha. Both of these, the Sangha and the stupa, represent the enlightened mind of the Buddha. All three of these are made, the representation used as a basis for offering. We keep such representations in our home and make offerings to them. The scriptures as a representation of the Buddha's speech, the figural representation of the Buddha, representation of the Buddha's form, and the stupa is representation of the enlightened mind of the Buddha.
Oh yeah, but the Tagan channel kunjo some cordos and that could give Sanji Sanji kunjo Sunday, soon the Jabo Peja to get soon to do to get Chu kunjo Sunday. That didn't down the Chedin and the Tuna and the Sanji took it to the Gindu kunjo Sunday or the Dictionary. Munzi Chen and Chata Chuba Chibur and Dichaba and Kunjo Sumba Chata Chuba Chibagi and turned to be your race and didn't it that they shall George and she is.
So when you enter a temple, you may wonder where are the three jewels. In the figural representation of the Buddha is found the Buddha's body, and then the scriptures found often behind the form of the Buddha. Finding the scripture there, that is the representation of the Buddha's speech. And if there's a stupa to be found, that is the representation of both the Buddha's mind and of the Sangha. And so we will stop here for today.
Oh yeah, that the Cheba Gordon is half. Lana maybe Cheba to Tibul House, they take the large mass. Georges, the name down the church and this young. Yes,
we have a bit left over. The unsurpassed offerings we will have to resume next week, and we can use this time for question and answer. It would be useful if there are any doubts or anything that needs to be clarified, that we use this time to clarify those things.
Yeah, I had to use a pen.
Thank you, Geshe-la. My question is, between the 37 practices of Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva vows, the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, and generating the mind of consummate yoga, are they all connected, and in which order should one practice it? And can someone still practice one or the other, or should it all be done together? And then what are the differences between all of them, if one is more superior than the other? Or one is more important?
Is the consummate yoga, is there another term that you have to use?
I don't know, but it's the one, I think it's from the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. I think that one is.
그래서 라틴 수들마다 아니 그래서 그래서 춘주다 아니 전주기 셈다 네 소소 그래서 라나메베니 셔바 된소 그 펜션기 자와가 요래 아니 렘신도 렘바든도 요래베 렘신도 장고르베스 아니 렘신도 장고르베스 야메네 참마 아니 칙도 드네 아니 야메체 요래베스 아니 된소 펜션기 케바르가르베스 아니 칙칙레 아니 gel치와든도 요래베스
다디 강가 도도지는 수 강가 냠도 진 지고라서 강가 세 지고 수신 에이네 아주 되게 미래 당보 지금 인베 차네 아니 강가 세야 때스 강에 여바이나 아니 아주 다 전주도 자와도 지고라서 이거 아주 오늘 다 전주 네게空都사게 해야 되죠 근데 이제 차와다 조야 공도로 와 전주도 자와도 세 아니 니네 막 되다 라레 소데바 세야도다 다디니마 망고도 방가 준주니 추 준주의 신나샤 안 되는 수 잡았어요. 주주 냠내 지기 아니 수 땡겨로 와. 어디들 제가 인디 수수고 냠내기 쪼고도나 강가 냠도 제제. 매나 당고 준주를 야보장 아니 이네 시바데 장기이나 아니 바지 디그를 해서
if you're able, it is best of all to practice all of them at once and together. But for a beginner, for whom that will be inevitably very difficult, one may begin with the Way of the Bodhisattva, because the Way of the Bodhisattva has as its scriptural source many profound texts, including the Precious Garland. And then after that, one may practice the 37 or read and practice the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva. And it's natural to follow the Way of the Bodhisattva with these 37 practices of the Bodhisattva, because the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva is a composition that emerged from practice of the Way of the Bodhisattva, which is its basis. And then, so then if one is capable of practicing all at once together, that is the very best. However, if that's a challenge, then natural to begin with the Way of the Bodhisattva. And it's just that the Way of the Bodhisattva is like a root, and then it'll grow the trunk and branch out into these others. So to gain experience in the Way of the Bodhisattva is the natural root beginning.
So to follow up with that, But what are the Bodhisattva vows? Is included in the Bodhisattva Charya Katara, and also what happens if one is practicing this, but then they mess up, like, or they make an error, like, so on the day they're supposed to fast, they forget and accidentally eat food.
그래서 아니 장 심기 동바 랑네 그래서 네버든데 양 여러와
알았어.
네바 그래서 아니 짜통 짜통되는 여러 아니 장축기 심 아니 동바 랑네 짜통도 여러 짜통 된서 가르가르래 직제 얘네 특별나 소소하니 세디 빵네 니마 찍라 샤고 찍라 아니 세 사마디 빵 거네 아니 빵인디 젬범 제네 아니 칼라 산네 짜통 된데 쇼나 가르치 그래
자동 아니 저些점은就是먹고 된다니 말이야. 자동 지단 산주 선배 자동으로 자동 조비에 예지 시루스인데 여러 그래서 가서 제마다 지금 그래 따이는 자동을 제시 들으나 있는 제일 잡초지. 자동 거네 아니 가르쳐 보서는 샤바치 봐서 자동 가는 것도 되어라다. 자기디 초바시 차스 양라도바 셰자네 아니 샤베 루리로 와. 대단다 자동 거네 샤바지고 니만 치주지 샤바체 어디를 땅아도 자동 마고바체 탑시치 아니 계속 거바이나 아니 탑시 이버드 가르스나 샤바체들 샤바 이무도 없이 거는 샤바체들 해서
Now, to fully explicate root transgressions, 18 in number, and secondary transgressions, 46 in number, would take so much time that I ask that you allow me to do that later when we have the time. But in short, if there is a transgression, then one addresses it through confession. And just as when we finish the section on the offering, we will begin the practice of confession in earnest here. One may address the transgression through repairing it and confession. In the first case, one does one's best not to be faulted with the transgression. If one does make a fault, then one may address it with the 4 antidote powers.
Yeah, well, they just need
I think you've been doing the section on the amplitude of space where you use the term ram, is that right? Can you explain that again? I missed it.
아니 그래서 이게 람얌캄 송스마 다디 람얌캄기 된다 양기하르 직성르시 다다 송스마
람얌 캄 진짜 맞다 오라 책이 차상 책이 쓰고 있다 땡기 생기와 그래서 람얌 캄스도 차바 람스도 차바라고 가물을 bednya 가지고 이거 차바 얌스도 좀 빼와 그래서 마법에 찍네 주주의 자자는 동에 빼와서 그래서 람얌 캄스도 좀 아니 그래서 빼 간가를 빼 배는 가서 어디 간가를 캡부터서 어디 공에 빼 쉬우지 어쩌서 간가 캡부터 생도와 나도 캡봐 빼와 쪼와 숨내서
Ram Kam. I'll explain it in its entirety. Ram is pervasion, pervading all universes, all space. Yam is increase. It is to multiply 1 by 10, 10 by 100, 100 to 1,000. It is to multiply. And Kam is to radiate. We say light is radiating and illuminating all of space. And so by the force of Samadhi, Ram Yam Kam, we do this. So I put that really concisely, or rather, I described that succinctly, but in the secret Mantrayana, this is described at great length.
말하죠. 되게서 독수가 쭉 쳐봐 필요해서 맞다. 나도 쳐봐 필요 미과치는 배 담당하고 쳐봐 필요해 미과치도 독수가 쭉도 삼바 랑이 투가네. 쳐배 나무 저당데 아니 그 망모 몸망모에 또 투야 네바이는 뭐 쭉. 나 근데 쭉 투고면 아니 당고 쭉 되네. 쭉들 봐야 좀 자스 자데 장수선 먹고도 삼고 쳐봐 배당사 저러와. 어디 가서 아니 어디 저 앞에도 산지 장다 그냥 맞으면 저 앞에도 잡아 카드 스탠드 땡에서 요거면 아니 아뭐주저 앞에 얘네한테 계획다 주네 봐 야스 주 야네 동도 아니 배드네 봐 장가면 봐 주데 답시체네 아니 저 앞에야 전 무슨 먹고도 사고 저 앞에야 그 그런 남자를 넣었어요 그래서
So then, to put it very concisely, by the force of samadhi, these visualizations are made. An emanation of offering deities, for instance, emanate from one's heart center. They radiate from one's heart center, and as far as one is able to, one should multiply the visualization so that there are hundreds of thousands of offering goddesses emanating from one's heart center. If that is beyond you now, begin with 10 and then increase to 100. And one makes an offering in this way. In the tradition of the offerings of Samantabhadra, offerings are made to the Buddhas that are countless in number, and offerings are made equal to the Buddhas countless in number. And this is done by the force of samadhi. And one may begin with 10 and then multiply the number of offerings according to one's ability. And the account of Samantabhadra, the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, and his offering is the basis for this.
My question is about verse 20 and about the sweet melody. So I got some confusion about music in general, and it being a source of distraction for those of us who are attempting to practice. And so I would love to know more about this melody, this sweet melody, and how it solves the pain of beings, and generally what should our relationship to music be, both maybe secular music and then also religious music. In particular, sometimes even the like chanting or things that have a melody can serve as a source of, like, it gets stuck in my head, and then it becomes something that distracts from the meditative practice that I'm working on. And so just would love to know more about music generally, and then specifically with regard to that problem. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Romo Yangin Yongden dida sikche didan jayin chida mikashila ani gomgyayala ani karisa Romo seridigi ani gomgyayala nugidwa ani semi yengirwa andi chida chitangi yang seridida Kana any young tea any draw donga selgirwa. Just a young tea and mix over it. In the Jadani Chodan Joey young than the young Euro, and the Chodan Majo young, Rome than the young, Nigga Euro, Joda Majo, Nigga Yore. And it's something lying by any person Zoke than any Yarne, the Yamanati young tene. The young di susu ani simla zune ra amchola zune ani garichene ani tagra ani amchola ani shar yongdwa ani jeta ani this gomgyal this nugdwa jeta ani geshigi cheta gi ani sunghe sebaena Romo kola karishe kore.
Romo sing azu chidan da ngoma kodu ta pena ngabzu ge di yushu da duni che pidan de she jagi yorwa sang ta so yushu da duni lumbe azu jagala kare ani juze yushu tsabshi juze chukure shis dende ge pe yang dola de juze bangul de yorwa o dende ja ani yang nyen ba da ta ganzu gu pena ngabzu 지 미 공부 전부 저지 데리 쇼기 얘는 안 콜라 아주 거의 가오체 제도라 아니 루니 몰랑베 다 가데 이도와 속 제바 아니 양님 봐 데데 땅네 아니 거 예, 가오서로 와 어딘데 나시지는 아주 군조라 양 아니 군조 땅으로 지다 즉 수수기 밖에 주중하나도 제 땅에 이모 계약 지게 데 양데다 인기 말해서 되게도 좋아 이나이다 군조 예버서 고고요 고도다마다 군조기 고통토지 연대 아니 템바다 셰바 데지 고네 아니 근데 되게지도 돼야 돼 아니 양예바다 데데 고네 치고 피해야 돼 여러 왔어 뭐야 수수기 아다 군조 치고 피해 차이지래 인지 미지 양양 데데 치고야 돼 말와 아다 군조 예베 치베 다란게 소남 사베 치도라 군조 예버 치교래 예버 제외 치도라 군조 연대도 아니 당다 양예베 토네 아니 다 쉐베 몰이 두와 뭐데 되게 섬당 그랬어 어디에 마냥 지기지미지 양 때는 랑 군조 예버 용금에나 고 인지미지 양 탱과요 말와 어디에 저다 인지미지 밖에 쳐봐도 저 레드도 딱 한다는 거나도 쳐봐 표현이 군조 예버지 용거도나 아니 가리진에 피고 왔다 그저 얘기는 나야 라는 소놈 살 말하지다 아니 피고야 말와 어디 제발들이 저래 손으로
Such offerings are made in the first place to accord with the custom of a region. And historically, we speak of 64 art forms in ancient India. And among these is the art form of pleasant melody. And it's simply a custom to entertain guests, to bring pleasure to guests, to perform music. And so this is used as the basis for the same practice to please the three jewels, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And I don't think, however, you should imagine this as melody and song that is the sort of ordinary song and dance, the kind that arouses the mental afflictions. Instead, it's the form of melody that serves to recall and bring to mind again the unexcelled qualities of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And so that is the purpose of the melodies described here. And such melodies that bring to mind the good qualities of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as a recognition of good qualities bring pleasure to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. And this practice of bringing pleasure to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas is valuable for us in our practice, in our accumulation of merit. There's no purpose apart from the accumulation of merit and the lighting of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. There's no other purpose to the offering of melody. If it isn't pleasing to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, it's not an offering to be considered. And so this is the purpose of the offering. And offerings and practices of these kinds all act as causes for the eventual achievement of the very Buddha body with its 32 major marks and 80 minor marks. and the 60 melodious qualities of the speech of the Buddha. So in particular, the offering of melody here is for cause for the eventual achievement of the 60 melodious qualities of the speech of the Buddha.
라마즈를 배당하고 때바 필요자만 라마즈 참삼 무수 대원 매바다 아니 참삼 양 주주 매바다 되게 돈에 양 양다 되게 많이 버들 용거 주자 뭐야 양 맞대 뭐지 가득 비야 된데 용거도 와 가시 참사야 배양 배는 배 시위에 뭐 용어들 용거도 어쨌든 곱하기 뒤다 되게 돈에 양 되는 예버 제보야 참삼이야 양 마태는 예버 용어 되게 주주요 그 주주를 따로 와서 그나지 수수다 때문에지도 양 수수 주주 매바다 양 마가 있나 양 매배 돈을 피우고야 되니까 근데 그게 나기 권에 뛰고야 이지 권에 뛰고야 류권 뛰고 수수도 여러 와 어디 되다 되다 되다네 되는 제가 제부터 되는데 요가 어디 하고 같이 그래서
And sometimes you'll see that when offerings are made to teachers, if they aren't in the mood, if they have too little time, they'll cut short the offering of chanted melody, and so sometimes, but then other times these chants will go on for some time, and they're very pleasing to the teacher, but other times the teacher doesn't have the time or the interest and will cut short the chants, the melodious chants. And so you may do the same thing if you don't enjoy the chant in your own practice and you don't have time, you can do without it. But these practices and these unique forms of offering are all for the purpose and their praises and practices of body, speech, and mind. They are praises and practices of body, speech, and mind that ultimately result in their unique ways.
딱 처바피에 저리도가 개리 친구시라서 처바피단 셴바이나 소남 친구 자 요래 아니 처바피와 딜라 때네 랑기 세티기 이지트야 요래 세르와 요래 아니 치매기 그 전투바 자산도 유여버지 다 네가 나서 간다 전다도 처바도 이지트에 처바다 마보지 셰를 드시게는 피고가 전다도 가르스나 제마라니 제부도 모두 치두 아니 랑라 유네디기 턱고고요 턱에 유디 사야가 간다나 간다니 처바피야 차 차야가 되게 고고요 레송을
Be aware that the practices described are for the purposes of achieving or accumulating merit, and the practices will result in this life longevity and contentment and an ability to achieve one's wished for goals. And ultimately, as there are offerings made mentally, there are offerings made physically. The offerings are made so that one begins the process of accumulating the qualities that will be found in the resultant body of the Buddha. And so to gradually accumulate those qualities and the causes for achieving those qualities, one engages in these various forms of offering.
어쩌다 간다 나랑도 간다지 니샤 조직이 처박강 내가 수족이 배나다 추제바 이내자 안에스 그런 수부 치바이나 둘로 건바이나 겐따바이나 되게 간가 간다랑라 차박이 귤라 만들어와 그게 이모가 귤라 만들어와 간다 되게 간가 소놈사기 귤라 줘야 간다라 네가 걸로 최백이 뭐를 교샤바이나 아니 딜라테네 나는 이모 맞게 왔다 아니 병에 터버데 얘다 아니 단다 가라 이마지기 가라도 수수기 제약에 하여튼 예술라나 나라도 미기 이샤 주진나라 간데 지대야 들어와 어디 지대야 강가로야 소놈사기 귤러도야 이모 귤러 만들어야 되게 탈람지 숨고요 레송을
as these are ordinary practices for day and night, ordinary and daily, nightly practices such as washing and drying ourselves and dressing ourselves and wearing jewelry. All of these may be when attachment is absent. They may be, and the mental afflictions are absent, they may be cause for the accumulation of merit. And so to transform all of these daily and nightly ordinary activities of washing, drying, dressing, and the rest into an offering becomes a continuous practice of accumulation of merit. And this is true when the mental afflictions are absent. The mental afflictions absent, these practices bring about tremendous benefits. And they're daily, ordinary, those very things, the very things that we do day and night naturally. And they may be cause for the continuous accumulation of great merit. And this is a method to eliminate the afflictive emotions.
세상에 수줍거나 거의 사와지 뭐이나 거의 되니 거산을 제대로 서버 담배구리 깨버려서 군조로 표현 몇 번씩 아니 수줍마 거머이나 차바지 말에 대한 표현이 더 그래 아니 세지네야 군조로 처벌 표시하고이나 아니 군조로 표현 손남지 사기를 랑라 아니 진질라베게 질럽 중에 아니 세기 돈 잡아 맞지 봐 이들 편도 전부 요래 다시 매도다 아니 누구다 가리네 그zul에 거기 잡아 맞지 봐 아니 이모 줄어 맞어 손남사기 줄어 줘 어디데 딱 안데 데데 제바이나 아니 처벌을 침바이나 랑 손남사와이나 아니 랑이 되베 된탐제 삼들 가리삼바이는데 두바 되게 연구를 와서단 되게 개변 여자 안에 단도 처벌도 걸려 오 데데로 이제 송구 열에서
So one buys new clothing and when they dress, dedicates or offers the clothing to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, then that practice accumulates merit and eliminates grasping at the mental affliction of grasping at that clothing. And so it is very beneficial. And when sitting down for a meal, one offers the meal to the best of the meal to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, then this becomes a practice accumulating merit. And by the force of the blessings from the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, one will not be attached to or overly desirous of the food which has been offered to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. And so the same practice may be done with flowers and parasols and the rest, such that the mental afflictions are reduced and one's merit continuously increases. And as this becomes the continuous activity, this is a spiritual practice, and this spiritual practice will bring about the natural achievement of one's wishes and desires, and so it becomes tremendously beneficial to practice offerings in this way.
Oh yeah, 근데 딱 간단한 냠내는 싶게 삼을 땅을 제거이나 아니 가지고 미기 통야다. 지금 암조고 거야 온봉하게 유익 받아가서 미기 통야게 수강가 아니 통원도 잡아 차바지에 줄라만도 아니 지 산지 고다 라면 수근데 통하도다. 아니 자도 간데 거이나 라면 송터버도다. 아니 셈네 남도도 전도 그 전바다 남도 그렇게 보이나 되게 라면 투 오 데데 돌아봐 삼로 땅 투이나 아니 가지고 니모께 고공으로 요마로 오 데데 냠네 치투 가다도 냠네 원다 데데 결국 열에서
In the actual adept practice, in all one's thoughts, in all that becomes visible to a person, all that becomes audible to a person, any form that one encounters, rather than being aroused in an afflictive way by the encounter with the form, one may see the body of the Buddha. And any sound one hears, everything that's audible, rather than being aroused in an afflictive way by it, one may understand that very sound to be the speech of the Buddha. And any and all discursive thoughts, rather than being aroused by them, one may recognize in them the very mind of the Buddha. And when this this integrative practice is adeptly achieved, there'll be no opportunity for the mental afflictions to ever arise. And so this is the purpose: transform these offerings into this integrative practice.
아니 장주 선배기다 준중의 시바나 시기 최백이 아니 냠래 다 시바다 아니 퇴바다 대대기 냠래라 때네 아니 가서 가리고서 나와 탐제 라면수 퇴바 탐제 라면숭 아니 랑게 셈나 남도 템바 탐제 라면 투수 샤고 어디지 냠래라 줄을 거 도야게 치도 말람 잡쇼스 아니 디지도 가서 말 라면 말람 이 소나시나.
So in short, may the force of the virtuous activity of listening to the teachings of the Bodhicharya Avatar and instructing in the Bodhicharya Avatar and bring about the practice in which success in the practice through which all forms we encounter are seen as the body of the Buddha, all sounds we hear are heard as the speech of the Buddha, and all thoughts that occur to the mind are recognized as the very mind of the Buddha. That this may come to pass, we recite the dedication prayers. Page 12.
Yenendo bele zoni kadar yamba kashi saba lome mare je yondo wa nande jewe ombo daju je ema zumbe zera kundu yang jambe yanji zewe jezo tembe rembo kuzan lamji sho nene rube yana neje Rangi Jishin Dobe Lamji Ni Shuja Seve Chave Taki Rove Yiji Mumba Seje Ne Jave Tembo Yurin Zenju Tembo Rinjin Choji Macha Pa Chabja Nyamba Jube Chone Ninji Chembu Yira Juba Yi Pende Teje Sevara Cheba Seje Jave Menjun Chile Lekyu Zanju Namji Adu Nanje Yila Peterishin Jave Zeba Rindu Yongyu Tamza Drube Tujin Ruji Jin Gigin Seje Medame Tera Kundu Jave Namba Yi Namda Rewa Majurji Kanze Tepa Chola Juji Tsuji Dula Tsubadi Suden Namji Tadu Roji Ne Trashi Jatsu Chugun Chanju Ji
From my two collections, vast as space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practice. Using skillful movements, strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread out. May I offer this treasure of happiness to all. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by following the complete graduated path of enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.
Dagi jini sabe dewa di tena ro kevara jesu lo san rabai tembe nipo rindu sute sho rawe kore shimpan de pela dewa malu shumwe sere sewa trizi yadu vi shambe site varaje tenjo che jambe bawo jindar kemba na kundu sambo de ya de shinde peda kunje jeso da bonje jewa de da tamche radu jeso jebe jewa tamche je mo rama chodu ma Daji gewe zawan de gunya sambo juje lang mowara je sambu semjo rimbo je maje bana je yewa nyamba meba ya mone mondo bewara sho.
I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drangpa to shine forever. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful Shinras and Council. Please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious Laskan ones of the three times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the supreme jewel Bodhisattva that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Thank you. Good night.